Well, my next guest is Chris Swift of Swift Trading Incorporated. He's based in Nashville. He joins us right now. Hey, Chris, happy Monday to you. Appreciate you joining us here, and I guess I'm going to hold your feet to the fire right off the bat here. Let's take a look at our current quotes. Funny things happening here in the markets already this morning. We have the corn turning around. March at 4.92, down 4.25 cents now. After hitting a high of a little over $5 overnight, it got as high as $5.50. Right now, we're within a penny and a half of our low of the day. So down 4.25 on the nearby, March and May contracts at the present time. And then you get to the soybeans. Let's look at these quotes provided by Bar Chart here. You have the March contract. Last night, it hit a high of 13.88 3/4. And now we're at 13.64 1/4. That's 24 cents off of that. And now we're down by 10.5 cents. When I came into work, we were up about 12 cents. Now we have the May soybeans down 9 at 13.62 1/4. So a big turnaround, a reversal, if you will, in the soybean trade already this morning. Now you have March Chicago wheat down a penny and a half, and it's trading at 6.37 1/4 per bushel. It had been as high as 6.51 overnight. March Kansas City wheat down 3 1/4 at 5.91 1/2. It had been as high as 6.04 3/4 last night. About our spring wheat trade in Minneapolis, March, after a high last night of 6.14 1/2, now we're at 6.07 1/4, and we're down a half cent after being higher by about 7 cents in the overnight hours. What the heck is going on here, Chris? Have you heard anything on your sources this morning?
Well, no, Marlin, really not. But we know that we had some export sales this morning that have kind of probably helped boost things up from last night. As far as WASDE report is anticipated to be huge because of the amount of exports that we've seen. Maybe a few changes in our supply side that USDA tweaks in there, and we could see a real show come tomorrow at about 11:15.
The overnight export sales had another 132,000 tons of soybeans to China. And yet we turn around and go lower, so kind of reminiscent of last year. Corn, 108,500 tons to Colombia, and same story there. It turned and went lower after this news came out this morning. The USDA report's coming out tomorrow. We have the production reports. That'll be the final estimate of 2020 production in the U.S. We have the ending stocks numbers, domestic and global. And let's see, what else do we have? We have the winter wheat seedings numbers that will be coming out tomorrow as well. What do you think is going to be some of the key items to really go to right away?
Probably the winter wheat seedings will be a big one because I don't think you're going to have as many acres as what you've had. And we know that a lot of the weather is still missing that the big wheat belt portions there. So I believe that. Most of the exports numbers can probably be calculated. It will be probably most interesting to see if USDA drops the supply side of it. If they come in and said that there was some kind of change in the number of acres harvested, if there was some kind of change in the yield per acre, those kind of things would probably be more of a surprise than what we already can calculate from the export numbers.
Okay, we'll come back in a moment here, Chris, and we'll take another look at how we're trading in that livestock trade. Had a very weak open this morning. We'll see if they're continuing that or not when we come back in just a minute. We're talking with Chris Swift of Swift Trading right now. Let's take a look at our livestock trade, and we'll begin with our live cattle board. And we are continuing with the weakness this morning. Even though the grain markets turned around and took a nosedive, we have the cattle still lower too. February down 75 cents. We're at 113.72 right now, and we have April down $1.05, and it's quoted at 118.25 per hundredweight. That would put us roughly about 85 cents or so off of our earlier high this morning. And let's take a look at our feeder cattle market, shall we? We have the March contract 52 lower at 136.30 per hundredweight. Meanwhile, we have that April contract down about 55 cents. So it's actually holding together a little better than what the live cattle market is. We have February lean hogs dropping 42 cents now at 68.27. April down 55 at 72.27. The feeder cattle, in relation to the live cattle board here, Chris, what's your take on how this feeder cattle market is actually holding together these days?
It's not bad. All you've really done so far is just narrowed that basis back. We had a pretty big negative basis coming into the first of this year. They've narrowed that down pretty closely to within just $1 or $2. And there's a big superior sale this week, so we're all kind of anxious to see how that superior sale goes. And We look over at the fat cattle market, we can clearly see the division between the front end of beef and the back end of beef, because this is one of the very first and few times I think that I have ever seen the June and August contract premium to the current cash market, as well as premium to just about everything over the February, and within less than $4 to the April. That's a really rare experience right there.
So, yeah, the April currently 97 lower and 118.32 on the live cattle trade there. What about the demand after you get past the first of the year? What do you expect out of that?
You know, probably still stable. The stimulus package clearly will probably help to some extent, but just stable. I don't see the consumer changing their discretionary spending habits to any great extent right now, and especially on beef, because it hasn't gone up too much in the grocery store. There's still plenty of supply out there, and the way we're killing cattle right now doesn't lead me to believe that there's any great big rush or export that they're trying to fill out front.
On the beef cutouts from Friday afternoon, the choice cuts were up almost $1. They were up about 99 cents, or quoted at 206.80. Selects were up just a dime at 196.69. On the pork side, the wholesale carcass values were up $1.18 at $81 Friday afternoon, while the belly market was down just 3 cents is all. So all in all, kind of quiet on the pork side as we headed into the weekend. Chris, thanks for all the time. Great to visit with you again. Chris Summers of Swift Trading. I'm sorry, Chris Summers in Des Moines, Iowa. Chris Swift of Swift Trading. He's based here in Nashville. We'll get the name straight. And Janet, with that, I'll turn it back to you.
So many thanks.